all, and very good morning to Sarang. Uh, Sarang, I would like to introduce to you and participants here about the initiative of biodiversity cell of the university, which I always take special or immense pleasure to tell to all our resource persons that it may be first ever establishment in any university where we have a separate department or separate cell and a full-time person who is working 24 hours for biodiversity of that particular campus. And slowly we are trying to reach out in the surrounding areas also. So in a quick way, if I want to tell you the history, it has a very good, unique story kind of history. In 2018, Chancellor of our university wanted to document, in a way, have a book on flora and fauna of our campus. The campus is 350 acres and has a beautiful various kinds of habitats inside the campus. We have man-made 2 lakes, we have dry deciduous forested area, smaller fragmented patches of grasslands, scrublands, and a plateau. So you name it and we have it on our campus. So everybody knew that campus is beautiful, has a lot of biodiversity, but no one know what is there inside in the campus. So when Chancellor said that we should work in a way of publishing a book, me and 2 other professors, we jumped on that project. Actually, I left my full-time job, I gave resignation to my full-time job in Symbiosis, and for 1.5 years we did a thorough survey and we came up with a book, Fauna of Symbiosis International University. I think we spoke, and I have shown you the copy also that day.
Yeah.
And we published that book. And somehow, when project got over, we convinced management, because we felt, 3 of us, we, I and 2 other our professors who are authors in this book and hardcore ecologists, that we should work on continuous documentation, because whatever we documented in 1.5 years is not enough. There may be many species, or there may be many things which may happen in the future in terms of even human interaction or human interference, development, and all these things. So conservation and protection was the main issue we wanted to work upon, and that's why we tried hard and made our management to establish this biodiversity cell. And I started working on the same in 2018 August. So when you came, it was just 4 or 5 years, 4 or 5 months old. We were taking baby steps. Still, we are in that, but yes, in 2.5 years we have evolved nicely. Now I have a nice student community with me who is working on various issues. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has definitely, like all other things, also made us stop our surveys and nature walks and everything which we used to happen with students on the campus, at least those who are in Pune and Lavade campus. But with this Sunday special session, we somehow again united for a purpose, that we should learn about biodiversity, if not offline then online. And then people like you who are working in photography, safe photography, in wildlife conservation, community engagement, they come and talk with us and interact with us so that students stay motivated, or those who don't know anything can get that sensitivity amongst them. So that's the quick recap I can say about biodiversity cell and the things happening around. And right now, only this Sunday special is holding us together, I may say, from 1 year. And on field, I only managed to go and do few surveys on the campus. Otherwise, students all are across, spread in their homes in across states, and even some few are international students also there on our campus in the university, who may join today also from various other countries also. So yeah, with this, I again welcome you, and I pass it over to Nikhil, who is our team member. Sorry, I'll introduce you to today's team members. Nikhil, Janan, and Ainik Datta. Three of them, they are students of Symbiosis School of Photography and Visual Arts. So I'm happy that luckily, coincidentally, I didn't, planned it, but as a number wise, they are the ones who are handling your session today, being a photographer and students of photography. So Nikhil will take it over and introduce to all other participants about you. So Nikhil, it's over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. So a very warm good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the entire Symbiosis Biodiversity Cell, the university, and on behalf of Symbiosis School of Photography, me and Nikhil Session welcome you, sir, to this session today. On the session, the urban wildlife of Mumbai. Firstly, I would like to thank you, sir, for taking your time, valuable time off of your day, and coming here and being a part of this session. And thank you, Shilpa ma'am, for organizing such a function for us for today. And last but not the least, I welcome everyone who is a participant here to this function. So talking more about Mr. Sarang here, we are really privileged and really honored to have you, sir, as he's a nature and wildlife photographer from Mumbai. And Mr. Sarang here is really specialized in creative and abstract photography. And we came to know that he also has his hands on poetry as well, and also been recognized nationally and internationally for his works and competitions. And also, really honored to say, sir, really honored to say that you're also a part of Marine Life of Mumbai team. So it's really glad we had this opportunity to have you in this session. So again, I welcome you, sir, and everyone else present here to the session. Over to you, sir, for the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nikhil. Yeah, so I'll just start sharing my screen. I hope it's visible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so hi everyone. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy in these days. I want to I don't exactly have a PPT as such. Most all of these are just images, so I'm keeping it simple. I just want to take you guys through my own journey as a photographer and exploring and getting introduced to the wildlife of Mumbai. And how one by one I came across all the different types of habitats in and around the city, and how my own mindset has changed over the past 10 years or so. I'll get back to this image later, by the way. But to begin at the start, before photography, long before photography, actually, I was always interested in animals and wildlife and nature. And even during the school days, I used to go on nature trails with BNHS in the SGNP. And the existence of SGNP was like really sort of really important for building that interest in me, because it was so accessible. It was right there. I stay like 5 minutes away from the Borivali National Park main gate. So that was always like an early introduction to this amazing habitat right next door. I started, actually finished my BSc in zoology in Ruya College. The plan sort of was to get into maybe wildlife research or conservation. But towards the end of my college years, college days, I got really seriously interested in photography. And so I decided to switch careers at that point. And like I was actually planning to continue with my MSc, but then I gave it up and got into photography full time. It was not easy. I mean, it's still not easy. It's very difficult to make good amount of money from it. Just let me hide this 1 second. Okay. I've been managing. The thing you guys need to know, obviously, is that you can't really make a career out of wildlife photography as a full-time thing, right? So my idea was to just try and get any other commercial work, from weddings to products or any other, whatever I could get my hands on, and do that work, save up money, and then focus on this wildlife thing, which was always my priority. Like that was what I was doing everything else for always. So even in the beginning, the idea of wildlife photography in my head was that typical idea, right? Like, what does a wildlife photographer do? So they go to, Corbett or Bandhavgarh or Kana, places like these, and then they shoot the obvious wildlife there, tigers, elephants, or in Mumbai and Pune, there's like a very good community of herpers. So if you're herping, you go to Amboli or Agumbe, places like that. So that was my idea of what a wildlife photographer does. But obviously, I didn't have the budget to go to these places, right? So I sort of was forced to try and look for wildlife within my city, and the SGNP was right there. So the obvious thing to focus on became macro photography because it was so accessible, like it's literally half an hour drive from my house. I can just, or even 10-minute walk from my house, actually, I can just go to a nature trail and I can explore the insects and small animals on that nature trail and start shooting them. So in the beginning, I managed to convince my parents to get me a macro lens because I didn't have the budget to buy it. And I already had this sort of aesthetic in my head. One second. Yeah. Okay. I had this black and white creative aesthetic in my head already, and the macro photography sort of became an easy and accessible way to kind of get those images that I had in my head, right? Like simple compositions, but simple but impactful compositions, like this dragonfly with the sun rising in the background, or this snake, wine snake that I found in Matheran, the hill station of Matheran. So for the first few years, I just stuck to black and white macro photography because I was really enjoying it. I was creating a strong body of work as a photographer. And I just kept doing this for many years, 4 to 5 years to be precise. But at one point, I mean, even during this time, I had that idea of this dichotomy between wildlife and humans, right? That wildlife and humans are separate. Even in a place like SGNP, you have that idea that there's that border of SGNP, and on the wildlife is on one side, the humans on the other side. They're always two separate things. They don't mingle, they don't coexist. But around 2016, I think that idea started slowly changing because oh, sorry. To give you an idea of what this is, I'm pretty sure you guys might not be able to guess what it is, but this is an owl fly. You can just Google owl fly and see what it actually looks like. But what I've done here is I've focused only on the tips of its antennae, so that it creates this abstract image where those antennae look like eyes, and the top of the stick that it is sitting on looks like a face. So this is the kind of like creative stuff that I kept doing with macro photography. But and of course with wildflowers as well. In 2016, I think I reached a point where I realized that, okay, I've done everything I could do in this, and I sort of had to force myself to reinvent my photography in a way. And the obvious thing to move on to felt like birds, because I was always interested in birds. But at that particular point in time, I didn't have a telephoto lens. So the most accessible bird for me, at least in the city of Mumbai, was the seagull. The seagulls are winter migrants to Mumbai. They come in large numbers in some particular spots in the city. So it's very easy to photograph them. And this was the image I made of the seagulls at Gateway of India. Basically, I just kept my camera on the promenade wall and took a slow shutter image of them. So they were just moving on top of the water, floating on the water. And that movement created this beautiful pattern. And this is still one of my personal favorite images of all time.
And I think this image also got you award, right?
Yeah, there was this contest by actually Nature in Focus in collaboration with, I think, the Forest Department. I don't exactly remember. But it was a biodiversity creative photography contest, and this one got the first prize in that.
Yeah, I remember.
Is there like a distraction in the top panel? Are you guys seeing anything? A bar or something?
You are viewing Sarang Naik's screen. Karke.
Yeah. Okay. Only that much, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, so I moved on from macro to birds, seagulls, and this is another image that I took at Girgaon Chowpatty. And this sort of juxtaposition, where the animal is in the foreground and the city is in the background, that sort of you'll see through a lot of my other images, because it creates such a nice composition, and it forces you to see both of these things together. Like, they are not two separate things, they are just coexisting in the same place. And I like to put that wildlife in the foreground to highlight it, and the city in the backdrop. So this is where it started, basically. And I think I got my telephoto lens in around 2017 and started exploring, started shooting flamingos in Navi Mumbai. And that's where that idea of wildlife and humans being two separate things just completely blew away. Because here you have this, like, one of the most exotic birds, the flamingos, literally thriving right next to this huge apartment complex. And they don't care. They are just there. They enjoy being there. They do keep moving from one lake to another. This is one of those lakes in Navi Mumbai. But they prefer to stay in this area because they feel safe here, and they do get food here. The funny thing here is that the flamingos apparently started visiting Mumbai only in the 90s, because the pollution levels in the creeks reached just the right kind of level for the optimum production of algae, which they feed on. So this is sort of a bittersweet thing, that the increase in pollution has actually attracted flamingos to the city. And we don't know what will happen in the future. If the pollution keeps increasing, they might go away. Or if construction and disturbance increases too much, they might prefer to go to some other location. But right now, we are extremely lucky to have them here, to be able to see them at such close range, because there are so many people who go literally to other countries, to Africa or some other country, just to see them. And we have them right in the backyard. So this is an amazing thing. So I took a few more photos of them right against the backdrop of the buildings to sort of, again, emphasize on that idea of coexistence. This image actually won the third prize in the Sanctuary Asia Photography Awards in 2018. 2018. So again, slowly, as I said, that idea of the two being separate just broke down, and I had a sort of better understanding of what urban wildlife means. That if they don't care about borders, they don't care about that separation, they just go wherever they feel safe or find food. And that sort of opens up your mind to searching for wildlife wherever you are, no matter where you are, and that has always been a very important learning for me as a photographer. Again, I tried some abstract shots of the flamingos as well in the same location. This is a slow shutter speed image. And this is one of the more recent images I shot just this February. The flamingos have been coming to a different lake this year for some reason. The DPS lake that is right next to that other lake I showed you. And it's closer to the road. So at night, like after sunset, when it gets dark, these flamingos are just sitting here, and the light that is falling on them is literally all the street and building lights coming from the city behind me. So that again sort of created this symbolic image of the flamingos like basking in the glow of the city itself. And one interesting thing about this place that I forgot to mention, this particular lake, is yes, that the buildings maybe shouldn't have existed in the first place, but they do now, unfortunately. But the funny thing is now the residents of these buildings themselves are actively ensuring that this lake is protected from encroachment. So a couple of years ago, actually 3 years ago, the administration handed over this lake to a builder to build new residential complexes and even a golf course. So can you imagine a golf course in this location? And the residents themselves filed cases against them and in the Bombay High Court and brought about a halt to the construction. And the case is still ongoing. The builder has approached the Supreme Court now. But these are the people who are actively ensuring that the place remains untouched. So that is quite an interesting thing, that makes you realize that the places like these, especially in urban environments, they can't stand a chance to survive unless the citizens themselves are actively involved in its protection. Okay. Moving on, around 2017 again was the time I was introduced to this amazing environment that is the marine life of Mumbai. And the group itself was formed in 2017, Marine Life of Mumbai group, which just basically almost changed our lives altogether. I mean, this is right across Marine Drive. If you guys have been to Marine Drive, just you get down from the promenade in the tetrapods and this particular rock face is right there. It gets exposed only during low tide, but it's right there. And in 2017, this was one of the first walks we did with my friends from Marine Life of Mumbai. And I was just my mind was just completely blown away just looking at these sponges. These are all sponges, and I call them a garden of sponges. And I couldn't believe that I've stayed in this city all my life, and this has been right there in front of me, and I never cared to even notice, right? And that was a huge revelation for me again, realizing that all of this wildlife exists. We just need to really pay attention and go and observe it, go and find it, and it's right there. So this again started a whole journey of documenting marine life in the city, and it's been one revelation after another over the past 4 years. I photographed these sponges in different ways at the same location. Again, this is Marine Drive.
So these are actual colors, blue and pink.
Yes, they are. Wow. These are all the different colors that you get of sponges. And sponges are actually, you can find them in many different shores in Mumbai, not just Marine Drive.
So what is the difference in coral and sponges?
They are completely different animals, actually. Corals, I can't technically tell you right now because I myself keep forgetting. But sponges are like simpler animals than corals, and they are two different categories of animals, basically. And actually, we think now that some of the sponges out of these are actually not sponges. There are a separate animal called tunicates. So that is still an ongoing process of figuring out. This is one of my personal favorite images. Again, a Marine Drive, but the reason I like it is because we have all these sort of iconic buildings in the background, right? There's the Air India building in the center. There's the Trident Hotel next to it. And you can also see the lights of the Brabant Stadium. So again, this puts things nicely into perspective of how close and accessible this place is. So there's, again, a duality to it. It is accessible, but it is also not accessible. As in, this place only gets exposed during a very low tides. So most of the times it's right in front of us, but hidden underwater. This is like literally an entire forest hidden right in front of our eyes that you can only see with your eyes when there's a low tide. So if you're interested, this particular thing is a sponge. And all of these off-white yellowish things that you see are zoanthids that are close because they are above water. I'm not sure if Sejal showed zoanthids to you, but they are basically soft corals.
Yes, she had.
Yeah, I'm sure she did. they are basically a type of soft coral, and I'll just show you more pictures of them as we go ahead. Oh yeah, another discovery that happened, amazing discovery is the egg masses of squids that show up around October. The squids basically come to the shore and lay these masses of eggs on the shore in October, and then around end of November, early December, the eggs hatch. So this is what a entire egg mass looks like. And when you zoom in closer, you realize that it is made of hundreds of individual eggs. And last year, I got to shoot some good photos of them up close. This is how they look up close. There's individual eggs, and you can actually see the individual baby squids inside them.
And they have colors inside.
Yes.
Different colors, blue, red, yellow.
Yeah, those are the chromatophores. Those are the skin cells that can change colors. So in the babies, they don't change that much. They start changing colors only when they grow up, grow bigger. But here, what you can see is this is the individual animal, and the balloon-like thing that you can see is the yolk sac that they feed on while they are inside the eggs until they are ready to hatch. And this is the image I managed to get last year when they were actually hatching. They are coming out of the eggs. So they just come out and sit on top of the eggs and wait for the tide to take them in. If you notice, this is clearly, obviously visible, but there are many others, if you look carefully, that have hatched and are just sitting on top of the eggs. They look like tiny translucent jellies. So that was a very interesting thing to observe. This is another discovery that just took me by surprise, that there are octopuses found on our shores. This is one found at Juhu Beach. And the first couple of times I saw them, I thought that, okay, yeah, wow. So this might be a rare sighting, right? This might not happen often, but over the past few years, after going back to these places again and again, I've realized that octopuses are quite like relatively common on our shores. And you just have to search for them and keep an eye out. And if you're lucky, you definitely get to see them. The idea is to keep going back again and again. You know, the more often you go, the more things you see. And now you might get an idea what this is. It's the eye of an octopus. Again, at Juhu Beach only, there was this octopus that was sitting in a shallow tide pool. So I just wanted to get sort of, again, an abstract image of it. So I went to the level of the water with a macro lens, and I went a little close and just focused only on the eye. And the blue color you see behind is basically the sky's reflection on the surface of the water. So yeah, I keep trying all these different sort of things to try and get interesting and unique images that would actually capture the curiosity of the viewer and encourage them to explore more and ask more questions. So after going back again and again to the same locations, you find out in what place you'll get what kind of animal at what time of the year. And once you know that, you can actually plan compositions in advance. So this is one such. This is a sand bubbler crab. They are quite common on sandy beaches. They're tiny crabs, and they are like in certain patches you'll see a large number of them, and they are very skittish though. Like a little bit of movement, and they just go inside their burrows. So I knew one patch in Gorai where there are a lot of them. So I just went there with this particular composition in mind, and I set up my composition, and I just sat there patiently without moving for one of the crabs to come out, and I got this image. So this sort of becomes a procedure, you know, just thinking of an image in your head first, then figuring out where I can get that image and going back there again and again, and as close to that idea in my head as possible. This is another one at Juhu. This one rocky ledge at close to the tide during low tides, close to the tide line, where you get to see this starfish. And I had this idea of having the starfish in the foreground, the Juhu Beach lights in the background, and plane taking off from the airport, Andheri Airport, which is what you can see in the sky over here. It's the headlights of the plane. So yeah, the idea was very easy, but it was difficult to get it because the planes always keep taking off from, I think, two different runways. So their position, you can't predict their position accurately. So I wanted to get this image right after sunset, but by the time I got this composition correct, by the time I aligned everything correctly, it was night. So I had to improvise and artificially light the foreground. But yeah, I ended up getting this image. And actually, another image that is in my mind is to have multiple starfishes in the foreground and the stars in the sky, stars and maybe even the Milky Way in the sky, just so that I can name that image as Tare Zameen Par. So yes, the zoanthids that I talked about, again, the same place, Marine Drive. And you can see the Intercontinental Hotel here and the Bremen Stadium lights. And this one single line that you see, that is the Marine Drive Promenade. And there's just no words to describe this. This is literally like, as Sejal keeps saying, it's reminding us that it's an underwater forest. It's nothing like, we have an idea of what a forest is, right? And we appreciate it like a terrestrial forest, trees and dense trees and vegetation. But this also is a type of forest, and it's actually a lot more diverse than a terrestrial forest. And just wrapping your mind around that takes some time. And photographs like this, I hope, do help people to wrap their minds around that concept. Over here, again, these round things you see are the zoanthids. They are shut because they're above water. Then you have sponges, these blue colored sponges. You have a lot of algae that is maroon in color. And these small tree-like structures are hydroids. They are basically, they are also animals. They are related to jellyfish. So, and a lot of sea slugs feed on them, which I'll show you later. This is how the zoanthids look underwater, sorry. So they are open, the polyps, individual polyps open up underwater to feed on material that's floating in the water. And you can also see them shut, the ones that are above water are shut. So I had read about corals in general showing this property called biofluorescence, where they glow when you shine a UV light on them. And I had observed these in other places outside Mumbai, but I had no idea about zoanthids. So one day I just went to this particular location and tried seeing what happens when I shine a UV light on them, and they actually did glow. And I just, the kind of image I got was, again, just something that I can't describe in words. It's crazy. And again, one of my favorite images, and the same technique that I've used before is juxtaposing that wildlife with the skyline, city skyline behind, to show that, this is also Mumbai, right? This is an very in part of Mumbai that's always been there. And like, we really, as citizens, need to appreciate this part of the city. This is another horizontal perspective of the same place. And yeah, the first time that I just observed this, I was just completely awestruck. It was amazing.
No one can believe it's
Yeah.
Mumbai, or even a shoreline which is so close to so much of population. Fantastic.
Right. So this has been sort of, especially with marine life, this has been every year it has been this tradition, right? Like, we keep going to the same shows again and again. And one person discovers one thing and they think that, oh, this is a very rare observation. But then everybody starts seeing that same thing everywhere. And then we realize that this has always been here. We just never took, never really cared to see. And this has happened. Those are keep searching for things that you might not know about, because they might be there. It's just that you are not observing them properly. This is a close-up of those zoanthids, again in UV light. There are different types of the polyps that glow in different ways. This is one that glows in very specific pattern, which is very interesting. Coming to sea slugs, I think we spent one whole year in 2017 almost, at least I did, thinking that there's no way, like the idea of having sea slugs in Mumbai was just incomprehensible to me. It's like there's so much pollution, there's so much garbage, it's not possible to have such beautiful creatures and delicate creatures over here. But obviously there were lots of them. There were lots and lots of them. And one by one over the years, people have been discovering more and more of them. And I think at this point, there have been around 45 species of sea slugs documented from the shores of Mumbai. This is one of the common ones, relatively common ones. This is called the Krakena sea slug. And if you don't know, sea slugs are basically shellless snails, marine snails. They've lost their shells through the evolution process, but they have built some crazy defense techniques. Like, for example, this one, it is the plant-like thing it is sitting on is again the hydroid that I mentioned earlier. It's a cnidarian, and it's related to jellyfish. They have these polyps growing at the tips. They are not very clearly visible over here, but these polyps have stinging cells called cnidocytes. Right? They are used as self-defense. So what this sea slug does is it eats those cnidocytes, and it stores it at the tips of these structures that are called serrata, and it uses them for its own self-defense. So, like, super smart creature, and those cells sting quite a bit. So that is a very amazing technique that they have built up. This is another sea slug called Elysia hirasi. Again, very common, but it's super tiny. It's like half the size of your fingernail. These are usually found on the upper intertidal tide pools where there's a lot of algal growth, as you'll see here, lots of algae over here because they feed on these algae. So they are called, they are category of sea slugs called sacoglossans, which basically means sap-sucking sea slugs. So they suck the sap of the algae. That is how they survive. But again, the interesting thing they do is they eat this algae, but they also keep the chloroplast intact and they store it inside their bodies. And they actually use that chloroplast to make their own food. So can you imagine, like, an animal ingesting the chloroplast and using it to make its own food? So imagine us being able to do that, like eating vegetables and being able to produce our own food through that vegetables. That would be amazing. So these guys have mastered that technique. Also, there are a few barnacles in this image, 1, 2, and 3, and these are a few other snails, marine snails. So this is actually a very tiny portion of one tide pool. Okay, this is like maybe maximum, I think, 5, 6, 7 centimeters long section of a tide pool, and this tide pool had like hundreds of these sea slugs. And yeah, over the course of the past few years, I have documented a few other sea slugs, and I'll just go through some of these images. And they have amazing diversity, crazy amounts of diversity. If you just Google and search for them across the world, they are just some crazy adaptations that they have come across. And these two are two of my favorite ones that I've come across. Just the bottom one is just amazing. Just look at the structures and the colors of it. Superb. So,
and how many species you said as of now in
Mumbai? I think 45. I'm not sure of the exact number, but I think at least 45 have been documented.
And it just only in last few years?
Yeah, so actually the thing is, there have been researchers working on this for many years, but from my experience, that data has not been very accessible. And for some reason, people haven't been focusing on this on Mumbai shores because there was always that assumption that यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, it's too polluted. So I think through our shore walks, it sort of people managed to break that assumption that there's nothing here, and hopefully, like all of this documentation will encourage more and more research into these animals. Speaking about this particular shore again, this is the Mahalakshmi shore, the shore right behind Mahalakshmi temple. Some of the past 2-3 photos that I showed of sea slugs were also taken on this particular shore. And sadly, that shore is no more now. It has been completely reclaimed for the coastal road. And this was one of the, I think, the last images I took here before that this area was completely reclaimed. This is a sea fan. It's a type of coral. Quite a few of them on our shores, but most of them get exposed only during very low tide. So people don't realize they are there unless they go during a very low tide. So again, these corals also have quite a bit of variety in their colors, and they also are home to a few other species of animals. This is one image I took right before the first lockdown started in March 2020, again, the Mahalakshmi shore. And this is, I think this is the first and only time I have seen a honeycomb moray eel, which is what this is called because it has that honeycomb-like pattern. Huge eel, almost, I think 3 or 4 feet long. And the interesting thing is that we just saw it lying there on this ledge during the low tide. And now I've realized that this happens a lot with eels, that they just go and hide in some crevice, and during low tide, they don't manage to come out on time, and they just get stuck here until the tide comes back. So this one I just again photographed against the backdrop of the skyline, and then one of us who was a marine biologist finally released it in the tide pool that you can see on the left. And this again has become sort of symbolic of this shore, because this shore is not anymore, doesn't exist anymore. And this eel doesn't have a place to call home over here, at least, in this particular place. The one ecosystem in Mumbai that I was sort of ignoring so far has been the mangrove ecosystem, partly because of the accessibility. Most of the good mangroves are in Navi Mumbai, which is a little far from my place, and also because mangroves themselves are a little bit hard to access because of the muddy ecosystem, and also because it's like sort of dirty, so to speak. But this lately I've been exploring more and more of it, and again it's the same thing, right? You go and explore, you think that there's nothing over here, then you actually wait and observe, and you start seeing so many amazing things. So this has been one discovery for me last year. This is again a sea slug. It is from the same genus Elysia that I showed you earlier. This is a different species, and it's exclusively found in mangroves. And again, it also eats algae and manages to produce its own energy from the chloroplast. So very fascinating creature. And the red thing you see, they are flatworms. And they are also very commonly found in the mangroves. There's another species of Elysia.
So Sarang,
yeah.
Just 1 minute. How do you know when you go for a shore walk that this is an animal? Means I would easily say that this is just a leaf. So means you will have someone with you, so who knows when you started walking on the shore for this particular photography. How do you, means I didn't know that, I couldn't identify this at all as an animal.
Yeah, so the same thing has happened with us also. Like all of these times we were going to the mangroves, we just thought that these were fallen leaves of the mangroves. we never care to wait and see, like actually observe them. But like after all these years of like observing sea slugs, and realizing that they are always like hidden in plain sight, they are always there. You just have to pay attention. And also reading about, looking at the photos of sea slugs, different types of sea slugs on the internet. That's how we finally realized that, decided to like actually go and observe them and realize that, okay, these are actually sea slugs. So that is how it happens,
And they must be slow moving.
Unless
They
very
are not
slowly,
like
yes.
fish, like they're moving and then you
No,
can
no,
see.
not.
No.
The only way you'll realize they are moving is if you actually go up close to them and keep staring at them for a while. Then you'll realize that they're moving. I'll show you one time lapse that I shot in this place. I hope it plays well in Zoom. Let me see. One second. So when you speed it up, when you actually shoot a time lapse, you realize how much they move over a period of time. Is the video visible right now?
No, Sarang.
Hang on. Yeah, I hope now it's visible. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the sort of movement you see when you speed up, or shoot a time lapse or speed up a video. Play that again. And you really it's impossible to notice this in real time, and there's so much happening, I'll just show you what kind of creatures there are here. The green things are the sea slugs. You also see the red flatworms. There are also another slug, type of slug called an Oncidium. You can only spot them when they are moving. So just keep an eye on this area. There's one slug moving over here. This one. And see this one. I hope you saw that. I hope you can see my cursor, by the way. Okay. And then there are crabs as well. So all of these things, you just completely fail to notice until they actually you actually speed it up and realize that they're moving. So and it's right there, happening in front of you. So it's quite fascinating. I'll show you a couple of more time lapses. So I went to this shore at Vashi, where you get a lot of.
Sarang, it's 11:50. Just to tell you.
Huh? Okay, so I'll end with these time lapses then.
Have something very interesting and don't want to miss, you can go ahead.
Yes, this is the last one. I'll share it with you. Hang on. So these are snails called Bakawan rotunda. Quite a lot of them on the Vashi shore. And again, you can't tell that they are moving unless you shoot a time lapse. And then when you see the time lapse, it's literally like a busy traffic junction. And one last. Along the snails, along with mud skippers. So this is something I've been trying to shoot more of, because we usually tend to ignore sort of mangrove ecosystems. So I'm trying to get nice images or videos of that particular shore. So yeah, I think I'll end with this. And I think I would just like to end with this one particular image that I shot in Gorai, because it sort of symbolizes hope for me. These are fireflies in the city of Mumbai. And I'm sure they are also, you can see them in RA as well, RA colony. I haven't been there much. But that's the thing, this particular place is always under threat from like getting taken over by buildings or resorts. So the only way to protect these places, I think, is like by talking about them, sharing photos about them, so that people will get to know about them, and actually understand that they are important, and will actually raise their voices in support of them. So I think that's where photography becomes very useful uh, in my experience. So yeah, I think I'll stop here. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Wow. So this is exactly what I wanted to, understand and been waiting for to see and to know about Mumbai. So thank you very much, fantastic. And last day only is Firefly Festival, which has become a quite event in last few years.
Yeah.
And this is really fantastic to see in Mumbai itself.
Yeah, even I have missed now this is the second year that I am going to miss photographing those fireflies in other places. But at least hopefully, like if things open up, I'll at least go ahead and look for fireflies within the city at least. That's my hope.
Yeah. So yes, thank you very much. Now the platform is open for students. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask questions if you have any. And please go ahead.
Sarang, hi. Am I audible?
Hi.
Yeah, most of these images which you showed along the Mumbai shoreline, I think these are possible only because it has a rocky shoreline. I may be wrong, but I'm assuming that. So some of us do not have access to rocky shorelines in most parts of the country, especially in the eastern coast. So how does one try to explore the biodiversity in such cases?
There are a lot of rocky shores in Mumbai, and yes, there's a lot of the biodiversity is seen in the rocky shores, but it's not true that there's no biodiversity on sandy shores as well. The squid egg masses that I told you, most of them are laid on sandy shores. And if you go to Juhu Beach in October, you'll see during a low tide, you'll see lots and lots of them. So different types of shores have different types of biodiversity, and it's not like one is better than the other. So different animals adapt to different types of locations, habitats. So I think just whatever shore you have, just go and just observe, photograph, and see what you find there. And I'm sure you'll see lots of things in that location as well.
Thank you.
Very true. Very true. So yes, Karthik, it is completely that you have to go walk, observe, sit there, spend time. So what he told us during his whole session, that no one knows in Mumbai that these are the creatures. They are there just under their feet, under their noses. So yes, you have to just go and watch and see.
So yeah, another one thing that I've realized over the years is that what I also said in the talk is that there are no dedicated locations for wildlife. It could be anywhere. You just need to pay attention. Like there's one chiku tree right outside my house where a lot of a few bats come to eat the fruits. And during last year's lockdown, that's what I was shooting. I was sitting at home and shooting wildlife. So it could be anywhere. You just have to pay attention. Any other questions? I think there are a few in the chat, right?
Yes, sir, there are a few questions in the chat. I'll read one.
Yeah, sure.
One of the question asked by Ankit. Ankit is, are there any identification of the specific guidelines on which marine life of India that one can get their hand on?
Yeah, there are. I keep forgetting the name. So please like message me and I'll check with my friends and give you the right answers, because I don't want to give the wrong names. There definitely are.
Other question?
And second is,
Consider the kind of terrain the tide pools have. How does one manage to walk on them without stepping on the creatures? And
Wonderful question.
yeah, yeah. You just the first and foremost thing is to understand what is a living creature and what is just a rock. So it starts from there. So in the beginning, sometimes you do end up once or twice you end up stepping on them, but then once you realize you need to be careful about that. But most of the times, all of the creatures are inside the water in the tide pool, and so the exposed rock is usually either empty or covered with oysters and barnacles, which it is usually safe to step on. But soft things like zoanthids, you should definitely avoid stepping on, because you'll just squish them. So yeah, that's, you keep going and then you keep realizing that what you should step on, what you shouldn't.
I think actually Aniket has asked a very good question here, because I also had that in my mind, because usually it happens when someone knows that there are a few interesting things to take or do photography and just go and watch. We have things seen in the past that people just thrive on that place, and
Yeah.
biodiversity completely gets in fact disturbed due to this activity. The best thing, even Sejal now suggested us that just like bird watching trails, because of you all guys, we have a shoreline walk uh, events also, so we can join people who knows well about these type of
Yeah.
creatures and biodiversity. We can walk with you, right?
Yeah.
To start with.
Yes. And also, like, you keep looking at pictures either on Marine Life of Mumbai's social media or anywhere else, and then you can, when you see them on the shore, you realize that, okay, this is actually an animal, and you should like not step on them. So that is one way to also familiarize yourself with what kind of creatures are like, especially during the lockdown when you can't go anywhere. The best way would be to like check out photos of people who are posting. It's Marine Life of Mumbai, or there are a few other people in other places in India who are also posting. There's iNaturalist, which I'm sure Sejal has talked a lot about. That is a very amazing place to just see what kind of biodiversity we have in this country.
Any other question? Students, you can go ahead. So Sarang, when you were telling us that you go with kind of composition and the things in your head, so it's every time that you step out for the photography, you have some kind of study and research done before you go for a photography session?
So there are two approaches that I take. One is that instinctive approach, where I just go and try to find the image on the spot. And then there's another approach where I do plan everything in advance, like that starfish image that I showed you. So it completely depends on what I'm expecting from that particular shoot. Most of the times I try to avoid too much planning, because I don't enjoy that. I like that instinctive way of shooting. But sometimes when I already have that image in my head and I know that I can execute it, then I do some bit of planning. Apart from the photography thing, all the other planning, especially when you're going on a shore walk, is all the same, right? Like what are the tide timings? And then till what time can you stay back after the tide turns? Then what time the sunset is, and like how is the access location? Is it safe to go there at night? All those things, is something you have to plan, and wearing the proper footwear, carrying at least some basic first aid with you in case you fall and hurt yourself, stuff like that.
Okay, good to know this.
Mhm.
So,
And for shore walks, actually, that is very important because every time we go for shore walk, somebody always falls. Even I've fallen up, even after all these years, I have fallen badly. And the problem is with all those oysters and barnacles, you get cut very badly when you fall. So that is one thing that you have to always remember.
okay. Yeah, thanks. So if there are no more questions, we can end here. Guys, do you have any other questions? Photography students, you don't want to ask anything?
Yes, sir, I would like to ask one, no, not as a question, but like as a upcoming photographer myself, I do find it like a bit more spontaneous when you're getting into a location and literally going for even if it's a trekking walk or you're climbing up a mountain, interested in taking wildlife photography. I know it can be much obvious that you don't get the actual shots you want, but the kind of time you
Yeah.
take to wait and build up the shot, it is more important than the composition you really want it in. So I can totally correlate with how you will say that it's more like spontaneous than planned shot. But is there actually I would have really thought about it, like you would have done a lot of research on understanding about the wildlife that you want to capture and pre-planned most of the stuff, because since it's like so spontaneous, it doesn't go happen everywhere else. So I really respect you,
Yeah.
sir, for that, because as a photographer, it's more than what you really think than express with your photographs. So that's
No,
really
and
cool.
I agree with you. When you're going for treks, or when you're going with your hanging out with your friends or something, it's not possible to focus on photography. So if I'm going for photography, I just go for photography. There should be no other distractions. So all those other things, the treks and those road trips with friends, those become sort of recce trips for me. So I'll go, I'll hang out with friends, I'll have fun, and side by side, I'll figure out what kind of shots I can take here when I come back just for photography. So that is always going on in my head. Unless I'm with friends who are also photographers and who are happy to just sit in one place for hours, then that's not an issue.
Okay. So, okay, if there are no more any other questions, then we can end here. But before ending, Sarang, I would like to know that, or again, congratulate you for the awards you won, especially Nature in Focus, and your photos have been published in Sanctuary Asia. So I would like to tell participants who are here that Sanctuary Asia is one of the very renowned magazine, and the only magazine, at least for now, in India, which speaks about wildlife and conservation issues. And your photo getting published in that magazine is nothing like that. So very,
Thank you very
very
much.
congratulations. And Nature in Focus is also one of the
Yeah.
great platform.
There's also Roundglass Sustain, which is a website. So they are also doing amazing work, publishing a lot of amazing stories and
Yes.
videos and photos.
Yes.
And also Mongabe, India. Again, a website, and they basically
Can you
post
write
about.
it? Can you write it? Because that
Yeah,
I'm not aware about. So those who are interested in photography, wildlife, and all, and want to write about it, you definitely, for photography, right now, even Nature in Focus is asking for their, I think, entries for
Contest.
photography and film. So guys, you visit Nature in Focus. I think everyone knows now Nature in Focus, but if there are some who don't know yet, you please go and Google Nature in Focus, and if you have anything about photography, and you please go and have a look on that. Round Glass, yes, good, you mentioned that. And the one which now you said, acha,
Mongabe, India.
Mungabe. Acha. Okay, that
Sejal has
I was not
also
aware of.
published quite a few of our articles in Mongabe. So you can also search for a name and articles will show up.
Yeah. So thank you. I think we can end it here. Thanks,
Yes.
Sarang.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I'll request again Nikhil to say a few words. Thanks from Biodiversity Club. And guys, those who are here, those 2024, please fill up feedback form. It is very important. That's why we can take these sessions ahead. So please do that before you leave. Nikhil, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So as part of the biodiversity cell and the entire batch of students who are present here attending this program, I thank you, sir, for your time. And it's through your experience, we have really understood a lot. And myself personally, as a photographer who has just started off his career in photography, I really grown up to a part where I really stayed close to just whatever genre I have covered, rather than like I've just started doing in like innovative approach on wildlife as such. So wildlife as such, I have just literally just stay to nature and its photography issues. I have never thought about marine life where I could really venture more and get an innovative perspective. So the like really exquisite composition wise the photographs you took and the kind of composition which you have taken as a photograph, it's really inspiring for me, as well as it would have been really inspiring for my classmates and those are the people who have joined here. So thank you so much, sir, for your time, and your experience have really opened our eyes on a lot major issues and major things which we should be knowing under. So thank you, sir, for that, and thank you, ma'am, for organizing such an like issue session for us, which really boosted up our innovative skills. Even though this pandemic has really brought down every kind of interesting things in our life, but still, this was really interesting. And last but not least, I thank everyone who have joined the session on time and been a part of the session throughout the entire time. So thank you, guys. So thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
And before leaving, I want to say one thing. Please turn on the camera if you can, because I want to take a screenshot with Sarang Naik sir.
Yeah. Guys,
Group shot.
please turn on your cameras. Thanks, Sahil, Karthik. Hi, Aniket. Nice hairstyle and beard and all. Wow, fantastic. You look good. So, yes, please, Karan, open your video. Priyanka, it would be nice. Hi, Ritu. Nandi, nice to see previous teams. Good to see you all. Abhilash, nice. Please open your videos, those who can. Yes, let's take one nice group photo. Done? Thanks, Karan. Sunday hai, I know everyone is doing this, that. Abhi utke. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sarang.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, see
Thank you,
you
sir.
again. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So those who are here, I would like to tell you that Sunday special sessions, we are going to start in the month of June now. Again, last time I mentioned on our Instagram that the management has been asking me how is the response of students and all. Yes, they are appreciating whatever is going on this platform, but they are really pushing me for more attendance for this sessions. So students, those who are here, please talk to your batchmates, classmates, and make sure that more students attend these sessions. Next 2 weeks, I'll be interacting with you guys in more close way. Means I'll be talking to you in a batch wise with each and every institutes, and that's why there is a gap of 2 weeks, and then I have to report again to the university. So I'm taking this time to grow in a way and make more rapport with you guys. So be ready that I'll be coming to your doorsteps in next 2 weeks. I'll be there. Thanks, Karan. So see you in the month of June on this platform on Sunday. Hope you are going to miss this. I'm sure you are going to miss this. And otherwise also, we are going to meet in this next 2 weeks on a separate meetings to talk about biodiversity cell activities. So thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Sarang, I made you wait.
No, it's
So that's it. Have a nice Sunday. Thank you very much. And bye. Take care.
right.
So team, you can stay back. I need Nikhil and Janan. So good job, Nikhil, Ainik and